Hey there. So today, the topic is troubleshooting relationship patterns. The common denominator is me. And this talk is inspired by a post that I saw somebody post. And that's why I was looking down a minute ago at the post so I can read it to you. My name is Shauna White, relationship coach for spiritually awake couples who want to connect and communicate with heartfelt connection and deep intimacy. So here is the post. This woman says, "The common denominator is me. I heard that today. I heard that today. It made me stop and think. Why do I choose to let people hurt me?" So that is her current interpretation of what it means to explore the common denominator of her, or in other words, to take responsibility for her relationship experiences in an empowering way. Her version of empowerment is, why do I choose to let people hurt me? So this is a very rich topic, and I want you to know that I am not criticizing this woman. Everyone is in their own journey and pushing their own edge wherever they're at. So I'm grateful to hear that she is asking that question. I've asked that question myself in the past, but being further along in my journey after that, I have some different perspective on this issue. So yes, taking responsibility is empowering. And when I first started taking responsibility for my really bad relationship experiences, right around, this was particularly 2001, 2002. I guess this was 2002. I was in a really bad relationship experience. Um, I had attracted to myself a stalker who was from a different country and a different culture. And I found him mysterious to begin with. And then I couldn't get rid of him. And it was really bad. Actually, it got really bad. It got bad to the point where I was underweight because I was so nervous. I couldn't eat anything except for apples. So it took a while for me to get out of that situation. But part of my journey getting out of that situation was that I had to take responsibility for the fact that I chose to be in this relationship with this person. And that was the beginning of me really understanding how empowering it is to take responsibility, even when someone else is crazy. If you take responsibility for how you got into that situation, it helps you find a way out. That's what I learned. But the day that I realized, or the day that I, embraced taking responsibility for the fact that I was in that situation, I felt so ugly because the situation was ugly. And then for me to say to myself, why am I in this situation? In other words, why am I choosing this situation for myself? Looking at how I got into the situation, but not just the situational logistics. It was also looking at my subconscious need for attention and how I needed attention in a way, like my self-worth complex at that time was such that I felt like I wanted someone to love me against my will. Like I wanted someone to love me, even if how can I put this? I'm trying to connect with that feeling. It was a feeling like I needed to be taken because I didn't believe that I was lovable. So I wasn't in a place at that time in my life where I could accept a partner that I wanted to be with. I needed a partner that I didn't want to be with because I needed someone to love me so much that even if I pushed them away, they still kept following me around. So that's what I started to look at. And it's not like I was trying to make it up in my head, like look at the situation and try to psychoanalyze myself. No, what I did on that day that I started to take responsibility was that I felt into the emotion deep inside me about this relationship. And there was the information for me to read energetically inside my being that was like, I don't want this, but there's a part of me that feels fed by the attention. And what does that part feel like? So that was my introduction to taking responsibility for like kind of outrageous levels of responsibility. And when I did that, because the situation was so ugly, like I said, I felt so ugly. I felt like, oh my God, who am I that this is what I want? Um, I was so like disgusted with myself, and it was a really hard day, but I did it anyway. And then further down the line, like the next day, or I don't know how many days it took for me to get through the ugly feeling, I started to feel empowered because I realized that on the flip side, on the other side of the ugliness, is the realization that if I have chosen this for myself and that's why I'm experiencing it, then I have the power to choose differently. And that's when I was like, oh, taking responsibility at this level is hard, but it's worth it because it means that I can make my life better because I can choose again. I can grow and I can change. And I will say that I never attracted another stalker to myself again. So I did successfully make an adjustment at that time in my life. I had no idea I was going to tell you this story today. so, so when I read that post, this woman says, "Why do I choose to keep letting people hurt me?" I see two things. I see that she is exploring taking responsibility at radical levels, like what I just demonstrated. Like you could be with a crazy person, and um, you can't get the crazy person to take any responsibility for for their part in the situation, but you can still reach empowerment by superseding, in a sense, the fact that they just choose to be crazy by taking responsibility for what how you got in that situation in the first place. So I hear that in her post where she says, why do I choose to keep letting people hurt me? But on the other side, inside that statement, I see that there's a little bit of a blind spot still about a very important dynamic that I help people with when they're trying to improve their relationship. When you actually have a relationship that you want to improve, not a relationship with a stalker like the story I just told you, but a relationship with a decent person, and you feel in love with this person and you feel that it's really worthwhile to invest in that relationship, then we need to look at one if this is going on in your relationship, and it usually is to some degree. We have to look at this natural way that we all function unless we make a conscious choice to function differently, which is that um, to let some, okay, I want to really connect this to the post here. So hang on. Okay, I heard, the common denominator is me. Why do I choose to let people hurt me? Okay, the let people hurt me part. If it's not an issue with a crazy person, if you're talking about with a decent person, when somebody does or says something, it can make us feel a certain way, can make us feel bad or hurt or whatever. And it sounds like that would be an accurate description of a very general but accurate description of what she feels like is going on. People say or do things and it hurts her. But that's not the full story. The full story is that people say or do something, we interpret what they said or did, and then we have a reaction to our interpretation. So the hardest part, one of the hardest things in sorting out, untangling difficult relationship dynamics is that middle piece, the interpretation. The interpretation of what someone is doing is so often subconscious, and it has a lot to do with our perspective, our values, our beliefs. Like, all these things create a filter that we see our partner through. And so what happens to so many couples is that they both have an honest intention, an earnest desire to be together in connection in the most beautiful way possible, but they're looking at each other through a lens of interpretation. And if you are just being honestly yourself, right, and then your partner interprets what you said, like maybe I'll take an example that came up from another post. Um, just a guy said to his wife, "That shirt doesn't flatter you," basically, and she heard the comment and she interpreted, "I'm not pretty," and she felt like he did something wrong. He said something hurtful, but he wasn't trying to say you're not pretty. He was just trying to explain or share his perception about the shirt not being flattering. But she felt like, you shouldn't say things like that to me because it hurt. She felt like it hurt. And then her reaction is, I don't want you to hurt me. So I don't want you to say things like that. Now, for him, he wanted to be honest, but now he's getting a rule. The rule is, I'm not allowed to say things like that. So now he feels controlled and she feels hurt. But it all happened because of this interpretation in the middle. So one of the key approaches or requirements to sorting out when things get all tangled up and hard in your relationship is tracking down those interpretations in the middle and pulling them out, finding how to show up together in an open place where the interpretations don't crowd in or creep in and create pressure. Pressure in the communication is what makes people feel controlled. So, and that's like one of the main things I help people with is, how do we take the pressure out of your communication so that you can show up together in a way where you feel free and honest and safe? That's really what's needed. So anyway, I see this person in the middle of her journey. She sees an opportunity to take deeper responsibility for the relationship patterns that she's been experiencing. The common denominator is me, and yet she hasn't yet discovered this other area that is really important and powerful for unlocking heartfelt connection and intimacy and joy and spontaneity and creativity in a relationship again, which is pulling the pressure out of communication. And one of the most important places to do that is this hidden monkey in the middle that is, it's like the telephone game. It's distorting what your partner says to you. And distorting what you say to your partner. And nobody sees this invisible force that is causing all this misunderstanding. So people are generally good people. I mean, if you're in love with someone, I would hope, I would trust, I would hope that this person is a healthy person to be in love with. If you're not sure about that, that's another evaluation. But two people who are healthy to be together can have quite a bit of difficulty, and this is one of the main ways that it happens. So that's one of the things I help people with. Anyway, I hope that this was a helpful and interesting journey for you. Thank you for joining me on this journey of exploration. And if it triggers any or brings up any experiences that you would like to share about how this has showed up in your relationship, I'd love to hear it. You're welcome to comment below or send me a private message, and enjoy the rest of your day. Talk to you soon.